Yes, welcome back to Convos with Cozell. I'm your host, James Cozell, your favorite non-guru. I have Mr. Darnell Davis here today, and I'm telling y'all, this episode here is going to be very insightful, and it's going to help a lot of people. And I don't just say that; I say that because Darnell is that guy, and he's been that guy for a long time.
I'm
All
just a
right,
regular
so
everyday dude, man. That's it.
so for the people who don't know you, Darnell, go ahead and give them a little bit of elevator pitch about yourself.
My name is Darnell. I live in Columbus, Ohio. Me and James linked up well over a decade ago. We getting old out here in these streets. Just a regular everyday dude. I'm a father, entrepreneur. Just started another business here, so I'm trying to get that up off the ground. Trying to just change my family tree through generational wealth and you know breaking generational curses. I help people with relationships. So I'll talk to them about, how to navigate relationships, how to navigate marriage, how to, move through that. I used to have a podcast. I'm thinking about getting back into it, but we'll see about that
Do it.
because it was
Do it.
it was definitely a headbanger for real. But yeah, that's
Mhm.
about it with me.
Okay, yeah, for sure. We'll definitely get into those entrepreneurial strides again. And
Yep,
you say you used to help people how to navigate relationships and everything, right?
still do. Yes, sir.
Nice. Okay. Okay. So let me ask you. So I know that so are you in a relationship now?
No, I'm currently a widow. So my
Okay.
wife was diagnosed with cancer back in December of 2019. She passed away August of 21.
My
So
condolences.
that was extremely tough time in our lives, especially those 2 years and the few months that led up to that. But currently single. Actually, I'm not sure if you've been paying attention to people on IG with that NGL thing. Somebody just asked
Yeah.
me like, "Are you looking to date?" I'm like, if the right one comes along and it's worth it, because the way the dating game's set up right now is kind of sketch.
Woo, woo. Okay. So you said so when she was diagnosed with cancer, was it like a sudden thing or did they know?
Yeah, no, this came out of nowhere. So
Wow.
she was dealing with like back pains for a while, and it ended up, started giving her so much issues that she wasn't able to drive anymore because just being in a position hurt her so much.
Wow.
We ended up taking her to the doctor after multiple doctor's visits because the original doctor that we went to, they were horrible. They did not want
Mm.
to do any of the scans that I was requesting. Once we finally got her diagnosed, she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and it was all over the place. So it came out of nowhere. We dealt with it in the time. We had to make some extremely tough decisions. We fought through it. It ended up basically causing her partial paralysis. So she had to be in
Mm.
a wheelchair for the last 2 years of her, almost 2 years of her life.
Yeah.
But me being me and me being the type of man that I am, I got her through the whole thing until the very
For
last
sure.
day. So yeah.
For sure. For sure. Where did y'all end up meeting each other?
So I actually worked with her cousin.
Nice.
So her cousin introduced us. We actually worked on the same unit. It's crazy how God works, because I tell
Yeah.
people all the time, like, God moves in mysterious ways. I
Yeah.
worked at a hospital for 3 years. Absolutely hated it. But my
Mm.
time at the hospital allowed me to learn everything that I needed to do to take care of my wife in her final days. So instead of
Wow.
having to have her go and have home health aides or having to stay in the hospital, like even when we were in the hospital, I did most of the work. The only thing I didn't do was give her IVs and draw her blood. I did everything else for her because it's like I know how to do all of it.
Hmm.
But we met
Wow.
through her cousin, and it was a random happenstance. After a whole lot of praying, she just happened to like be presented to me by God, literally by God, and everything about our relationship was just divine. And I say that to the end of my days, everything was ordained so that way I can be in her life for those final years. So
Man.
yeah, it worked out well. We had what I say is the perfect relationship. Of course, we had our ups and downs and stuff like that, but I viewed it as perfect because we were able to work through whatever issue came across our lap.
Mm. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And how long were you guys together?
So we we actually got married after 8 months.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, yeah. So I'm I'm one of those types of dudes. If I'm into something, I'm gonna be in. I'm gonna dive in fully.
For sure.
So we met. Thanks. We heard about each other Thanksgiving of 2013.
Okay.
We got together officially December of 2013. On our 1 month anniversary, I had her ring picked out.
Mm,
I had proposed after 6 months being together, and we got married after 8 months, 3 days.
I love that.
Yeah,
So you're one of those like, hey, when you know, you know.
I truly believe that all men know. The
Yeah.
problem is, will that man set aside the flesh in order to
Mm,
make the right decision for himself and for the potential, legacy building that he can go forward with. And for me, since I was a kid, I always wanted to have a family. I grew up as a single, as an only child, in a
yes.
single parent household. And though I had everything that I could have needed, my mom did the best that she could with what she had. I knew that I wanted to be different. So I wanted
Mm,
to be married and then have my kids. And
mm,
everything that I planned as a kid happened as an adult.
wow.
So I made sure that I did everything that was supposed to be done in the right order that I saw was the right order. And everything that we did just happened to work out perfectly for us.
Nice. Amazing. So now that you are currently widowed, let's talk about the transition, how it was transitioning into now a life without.
Whew, that transition is difficult,
Hmm.
and I would not wish it on the worst of enemies.
Yeah.
It's difficult because I not only have to manage my emotions, I have to manage the emotions of my son
Mm,
because she was diagnosed when he was 3, and for the first 4 months, she and I lived in the hospital.
hmm.
And this was at the beginning of COVID. So COVID hit 2020. This was
Yes.
before they shut everything down. By the time COVID hit and they started shutting everything down, that's when we got released. So we lived in the hospital for 4 months.
Mm,
He's definitely a mama's boy. He loved his mother like dearly. He still talks
yeah.
about her damn near every day. Where he's just like, I love mommy. This I want to see mommy because we have her mausoleum here. So whenever he
Yes.
wants to go see her, we go see her. Anytime I want to go see her, I could just go pop up. But it's the transition is difficult because dealing with death isn't easy
Yeah.
for anybody. Watching the transition of her relationship with her mom, that it's interesting to see how a mother has to bury a child, but then it's
Hmm.
interesting to see and experience how a husband has to bury a wife in such a young, fresh. Even though we were married 7 years, we had just celebrated our 7 year anniversary.
Hmm.
Um, Having to navigate being still newlyweds because that's
Yes.
7 years that's no time compared to an entire life. And
Right.
then seeing my son go from 3 years old, seeing what's been going on with his mother to being 4, getting ready to turn 5 because she passed away right before his 5th birthday. So seeing that whole transition with him and seeing the random breakdowns that he have, or he would just be in my office in the house and open a drawer and find her old ID and just completely break down. Or I'll
Wow.
be walking in the house and I would see, because I keep pictures of her up because I want to keep the memory alive, and I'll see it. And then I would just break down. Like, the transition is very difficult.
Yeah.
The easiest thing I could say about it is the fact that I know I had a mission and I made promises to her before she passed that everything that needed to be done, everything that we had planned, I will continue to work towards that. So the business I
Mm,
started, that was going to be a business that she was going to run for me. It was my brainchild, but it was going to be what she owned. But she ended up getting more
yes.
sick and wasn't able to do it. Purchasing properties and putting them in our son's name, or putting it in a trust and put it in
Nice.
for the benefit of our son, so that way we don't have to go through all the craziness of
Yeah.
probate and all that stuff. Like, I researched all these things. I talked to the appropriate people to get that information and make sure I do everything in the right order and the right fashion. Um, that's really the biggest thing that I'm doing now, just making sure I uphold everything that we said we were going to do. And today, officially, he's now signed up for kindergarten at a school that she would have loved. So
Oh
I'm
man.
doing what I can.
Yes. Yes. Nah, I love it. I love it. So would you say that the toughest part is more so seeing your son go through it?
Yes, that is the hardest part because for me, I could just shrink off in a corner. If I'm around people, I could dip off, do what I need to do. But when you see a child yearn for a mother that's no longer there, that's when the heart starts to break, and it's just like, damn, like there's literally nothing I can do outside of trying to be as much as a support system as possible for
Yeah.
him. You know, you go from a state of having a mother and a father in a household, you have to take into consideration you have nature and nurture. So you
Yep.
have both of these forces working together for the upbringing of this child in that
Yep.
household. We have the mother in her roles, the father in his roles, and now we have a child coming up, and it's just like, okay, we're trying to build him. Take that mother out the equation, where is the nurture?
Yeah.
So now I
Yeah.
have to embody both nature and nurture. I have to embody both masculine and feminine energy so that way I can make sure my son gets the best of both worlds because I'm not going to just be out here like, oh, let me just get any random chicken come. No, you're not coming into my
Yeah.
space on no
Yeah.
foolishness. Like, if you're going to come into my space, you need to be fully vetted. And I'm not exposing my son to anybody without knowing for sure that they are not just going to be good for me, they have to be good for him first.
True.
So that's really the biggest thing.
That's true. And how old is he now?
5, turning 6
5.
in a few months. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So with that, so in the current dating market, are you looking to get married again or?
Yes, absolutely. If I were
Okay.
to do it, I would get married. Like, here's the thing that really confuses me a lot when people talk about relationships and dating and all this stuff. What's the point of dating?
To get married.
To get married. But the problem is, people really look at it as just like, oh, I'm just dating, I'm just chilling, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. To what end? So you could just be in a relationship and do all of this stuff and pretend like it just doesn't make any sense to me. So like if you're
Yeah.
dating somebody, the purpose of dating somebody, courting them, getting to know them is to see if there's longevity, if there's perpetuity in, a household that y'all can build together. Like if
For
I
sure.
don't see that, there's no point in me dating. So for
That's
me
true.
it's like, yes, I would like to, but now my standards are so much higher, because I had
Yes.
damn near the perfect relationship. And because I had damn near the perfect relationship, now it's like my expectations are so much higher because when my wife and I got together, like my mom, I love my mom. She gave me the blueprint
Hmm.
and I had to finagle it. But basically, and I tell this to all my friends that want to get into relationships or looking to date, and they're trying to make it like they're trying to find their, one and only their person.
Hmm.
The biggest thing that you can do is set a precedence by creating a list. I tell people all the time, how are you going to look for something when you don't even know what you're looking for? So
Mm.
create a list of the things that you want. Now, when my mom told me, I was just like, all right, I'll create a list, boom, boom, boom. And she was like, no, it needs to be explicit. So when I say my list was extensive and explicit, it was 2 pages long. And it wasn't
Oh.
like sentences or paragraphs of what I wanted. I was like,
Okay.
I need her to be caring. So I'm not gonna write, I need my wife to be caring or I need my person to be caring. No, I just wrote caring, loving,
Yep.
good family values, well off, college educated, this, that. And the good thing about my wife, I literally got everything on that list.
Mm.
So now, if somebody were to come into my space, my list is now all of those things that she had, but so much more because
And then some. Yeah.
Darnell at 26 is different, 25 is different than Darnell at 34.
Yeah.
So my expectations are higher, but I also am cognizant of the fact that if I expect more, I have to provide more. So,
Hmm.
like I said again, Darnell at 25 is different than Darnell at 34. So I have to provide more from the experiences that I've had in this marriage and know, like, okay, what did I do good here with? What did I do bad here with? What can I improve on? What do I need to, bolster in my, just who I am as a person, as a man, and as a potential suitor for, a woman in the future. I have to now say, okay, this is what I was then. What am I now? And how much better can I be? Because I
Mm.
can't expect to have A1 woman and I'm just B or
Yeah.
C,
That's. Yes.
so
Yep.
I got to make sure that I put my best foot forward to, become a better version of myself, as well as raise my son to see that, hey, this is what my dad is. My dad has always been A1 with this. He's always said this, and he always stuck to what he said. And, even when he was with my mom, this is what it was. And now with whoever this potential person is, I see the same thing.
Okay. So with that list, and I know you said that you do coach people on relationships.
Hmm.
With the list, if through initial consultation, if you see that they're not the person, but they're asking for this laundry list of items
Hmm.
and qualities for their, for the other person to have, it's like, how do you get them to level up?
So that is a very difficult thing because acknowledgement is the first step. And a lot of
Yeah,
people, they don't want to acknowledge the fact that they have issues. We all
yeah,
have issues. It's understandable. There's nothing wrong with us having the issues, but there is a problem when we want to live within them.
hmm
One thing that I see a lot of people do, they either have lived a negative experience and they allow that experience to dictate their life and the way that they carry themselves, or they've heard
yes,
that experience from somebody else and they're living someone else's lived experience. That's the worst
mm,
part. So
mm,
imagine, you as a guy in a relationship and you get with a girl and she cheats on you. Okay, that's
yeah,
understandable. She cheated on you. That's a negative experience that you've like embody. It's just like, man, I don't trust these women anymore. I'm gonna be careful. Or in a lot of cases, some dudes would just go off the rails and like, man, F these chicks, I'm about to do whatever.
yep,
Now, when I talk to a lot of women, and I'm not saying this is just women, this happens with men, but more times than not, you will hear women speak vocally about this. They'll be like,
hmm
oh, well, men are this and men are that. And my first question to them is, have you experienced that?
mm,
Because they would say men are this and men are that, and they would have a father, and their father was a part of their life, and their father was great to them. Sorry, you didn't see it from your father. Men are this, men are that. Okay, you have a son. I'm sure you're not raising your son to be that. So who is it that
mm,
gave you this negative experience? A
yeah,
lot of times what I hear is, oh, well, I have a friend that did this. Nope, I don't want to hear it because you're living someone
hmm
else's lived experience. Now, why are you treating men horribly because of an experience that your friend had? That makes no sense to me. So I tell people all the time, like, first thing you got to do, acknowledge the issues that you have within yourself. Some of them are things that you've experienced, some of them may be things that you've heard from other people. You got to get out of your head because single friends keep you single.
Talk about it.
Single friends will keep you single because it's like, man, the
Yeah,
homie not coming out tonight. We trying to kick it. Now I got my girl. Me and my girl good. Like, I'll come kick it with y'all another night. Same thing with women. Like, girl, why don't you just come out with the girl, so and so and so? No, my man is at home. I'm gonna do what I need to do with my man, and can he come? So it's one of the type of thing. Like, you gotta first acknowledge that. Once you're able to acknowledge that you have your own issues, I would definitely say counseling. Gotta get
for sure.
some counseling.
Okay.
Counseling has saved my life. I was going through counseling before my wife got diagnosed.
What kind of counseling? Is it marriage counseling or therapy or?
All, all the
Oh,
above, all
fair
the
enough.
above. We went through marriage counseling,
Okay.
um, and I went through my own personal counseling because I felt that I wasn't doing enough as a husband and a father.
Mm. Oh
So
wow.
when I felt that, and that had a lot to do with, I gave up a lot in order for my wife to go back to school, get her degree and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So in that time, I felt like I lost myself. I lost a piece of me because I was always a go-getter, like, oh, let's do this, let's do that, let's do this, let's do that. And I felt like I lost it because for 4 years, I had to be I had to be dad. I was doing all the
Yeah.
cooking. I was the cook, in the
Yeah.
family, and we had our roles. So, and it's not the normative gender roles like, oh, well,
Right.
she's supposed to be here. No, she worked full time as well. And when she worked full time, after her full time job, she would have to do 4 hours after that. And after she was done with her 4 hours of school, I had to help her with her homework for things that she
Yeah.
wasn't clear about. So I had to be a professor, I had to be a teacher, I had to be dad, I had to be the cook, I had to do all of these different things. And it got to a point I was like, I'm starting to lose myself. So I went through therapy and I started getting myself back. And as I was just getting ready to be like, all right, I think I'm good, that's when she got diagnosed. So I started that back
Mm.
up all over again. So I definitely recommend therapy for people, marriage counseling for people. Like, sometimes you just need to sit down and just talk to somebody that's unbiased, that's not going to cut you off, that's not going to
Wow.
interject their own personal issues into your situation, because a lot of times we
Mm.
have conversations with people, and in their attempt, which is a good attempt, they're trying to help you out, they start talking about their issues, and then it's no longer
Yes.
about what I'm dealing with, it's about what we are dealing with that are compatible. And a lot of times the message gets lost in translation. So if we're going to
Yeah.
go through a conversation where I'm talking to my therapist, he just sits there, is like, and then once I give enough breathing room, he'll jump in. Well, I wonder, and then he starts throwing some stuff, and then he starts guiding me through a process. Never once has he said you should do this or you should do that. I've discovered everything on my own, and he told me what the name of that thing I discovered was.
Damn.
So like I was working on something, for example, just to steer off real quick.
Yeah.
Um, Managing my son at such an early age at 3 is just like, man, like all he does is cry. Why is he crying all the time? I ended up having conversations over a few weeks, and I was just like, well, the reason why my son is crying is because I told him to stop doing what he was doing, and what he was doing was fun in the moment. So when I tell him to
Mm-mm.
stop doing that, it's like I'm telling him you are no longer allowed to do that. So it's like, oh,
Ah,
9 o'clock, bedtime, go get in the bed. It's just like, oh. So I was like, maybe I could just give him a little leeway. All right, buddy, it's 8:30. In 30 minutes, you're going to bed. Okay, daddy. All right, buddy, it's 8:45. 15 minutes, you're going to bed. I do it for 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes.
ah,
And then at 9 o'clock. At 9 o'clock, he turns the TV off. He goes into bed himself. So when I
wow.
explained that to my therapist, he was like, oh, yeah, that's called priming. So you're
Mm.
basically giving him the steps of what is going to happen in sequential order, so that way he knows. So that ended up becoming me priming him in the morning before we go to school. Like, okay, when we come home from school, what are we doing? And he'll just rattle off
Mm.
everything that we do in order. We go to
Damn.
school, we go in the bathroom, use the bathroom, wash our hands, eat dinner, watch TV, go to bed. He had it down pat. It was easy. So once I started realizing, like, oh, I'm coming up with these things myself, it made me a better father. So in that, I was just like, oh, I'm sticking with this dude because he's literally let me talk, and I'm figuring everything out on my own.
For
But
sure.
going backwards, yes, therapy is definitely something that needs to be done. People need to get outside themselves and stop thinking, oh, well, I don't need to see no therapist, I don't need no shrink. No, you need to work through your generational curses and figure out what the hell
Mm.
is wrong with you, so that way you can be better for the next generation.
100%. 100%. So with our generation, because I'm 30, you said you're 34. Basically,
Mhm.
we're both millennials, right?
Yep.
What would you say is the biggest reason why kind of like our age group doesn't really want to get married? I know it's mainly social media, but it's a whole bunch of stuff. Unpack that for me.
Oh Lord, where can I start? So the the difficult thing with this is I could literally rattle off so many different reasons, and they all correlate to this. We could go back to the 60s and 70s, and we could
Mhm.
talk about how, you know, child support has an effect on it. The separation of mother and father in the household for such a
Yes.
thing. We could talk about the women's movement and how that, separated black women from the black men. How, you know, back in the days, decades ago, we were married at a rate of 80%.
Mm.
It's not that anymore,
Damn.
with the women's movement. I'm not saying this is because of women, but when you really look at the history of how the women's movement came, this was a
Mhm.
movement that was started by white women.
Yep.
They brought other cultures into it, and then once they started getting their rights, they forgot about us, or forgot about our women. But the effects of it, now we have these modern day feminists. And we hear the Kevin Samuels, we hear all of these different people. They talk about modern feminism and how it's not what it was when feminism really started. I was watching a TED talk with a woman. I can't remember. I got to find that TED talk, where she was
Mhm.
basically going through the history of what the feminism movement was. A lot of people don't even realize that two of the people that started the feminist movement and added two of some of the most important aspects of it were two men.
Oh wow.
People don't realize that. And when I saw her TED talk, she actually came out with a documentary, and she proclaimed herself to be like a diehard feminist. And she was doing this documentary to show how, men don't deserve this and men don't deserve that, because that's the mentality of modern feminists, not all feminists. And make sure I put out a disclaimer out there.
For
The,
sure.
the true
Disclaimer.
feminism is equity for all, not
Mm-hmm.
equality. There's a difference between equality and equity. You know, women back then, they just wanted to be able to be afforded the same rights as men, which is right. Everybody should be afforded the same rights. Everybody should be treated just the same, be paid the same, have the same ability to, do whatever they want to do. The problem was the message has gotten distorted.
Mm-hmm.
You could look at things such as Cosmopolitan. Cosmopolitan came out. I don't remember the year they came out. Cosmopolitan started talking about relationships in their magazine, started talking about this is what your relationship should be, and this is how it should look, and your husband should do this little survey, do this little poll. And
Mm-hmm.
it was revealed, I want to say in the last 10 years, that all of the data that they claimed was factual data, it was just marketing. They was just trying to market to women.
Ooh.
So no matter what happens in our world, everything is marketed to women because I'm not going to say women are in control or men are in control because if you look at the different aspects of life, women control certain aspects, men control certain aspects. Men built
Right.
everything. You know, I truly believe that men have built damn near everything that we've had, but behind a strong man is always a strong woman. And I think
Amen.
the roles are supposed to be honored in a proper way, but things just get so distorted. Right now, people don't want to get married because of a slew of reasons. For men, I could tell you this: they don't see the purpose of getting married because it seems more of a financial burden. It seems
Mm-hmm.
more like they have more to risk than women do. Because right now, what happens is we have so many people get married, but half of the marriages are ending in divorce.
Mm-hmm.
I believe is a little over 50% of marriages are ending in divorce, and they're ending pretty quickly. We're having a
Damn.
lot of unrealistic expectations on what relationships should be, and I
Yes.
think that comes from media showing the loudest people as the staples of what relationships are, and that is the worst thing. So when you see people like the City Girls, the Lottos, the Cardi B's, and they saying, "Can I curse?
Yeah.
Broke niggas don't get no pussy." I know that's right.
Yeah.
If he ain't flying me out, he ain't getting no pussy. The thing
Yeah.
that I find so confusing about this whole mentality with a lot of the media and the songs that are coming out, it's making it seem as if relationships are transactional.
Mm.
But what happens is when women say, "This is what I want in a man, this is what I want in a man," like he needs to be a provider. Provider means he needs to pay my bills, he needs to do this, he needs to do that off rip.
Mm-hmm.
Let a man say, "Well, if I'm with you, you need to be having sex with me."
Yeah.
Tables flipping, people getting called up to jump you, like how dare you disrespect me? But the problem is when you preface our interaction with my finances and then I throw it back at you, because when you really think about the things that men and women want according to media, women want money and
Mm-hmm.
security, men want
Right.
sex, right?
Right.
So those are the top two things that you will see. So if women want money, when we get together, I need to provide you money. If I want sex, when we get together, I want sex. That's
Right.
transactional. You know,
Yep.
the problem with that is women see it only on one side. Yes, you need to be a provider. You need to do this. You need to do that. The definition of provider now is different from the definition of provider in the past. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of women, and I'm not saying this to go against women because it's not against women necessarily, it's against what women are being shown.
Yes.
Women want a traditional man, but they don't want to provide a traditional woman to them.
Mm.
And the problem with this whole mindset is how you expecting me to be of the mindset of decades ago when you're of a modern mindset. The times have changed. Back in the day, women needed men because they had no rights without men. So
Yeah.
now women have their own rights. Women can work. Women can make their money. They can do this. They can do that. That's amazing. I'm so happy and proud of women that do their
Yeah.
own thing. But the ones that are the loudest are the ones that say, "Oh, I need a man that's a scammer because I want to be able to go on
Mm.
trips. I need a man that's a drug dealer because I like he has that rugged like he just had this thing about him. No, that's not conducive. And then when you end up having a child with this person, or you end up getting hurt because of this person, now it's just F these niggas. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
that's an inappropriate mindset to have, because the relationships that you're seeking lead down this path of destruction. So I say all day, every day, work on your mental first. If your mental capacity is only on what you hear in hip hop songs and the media and stuff like that, you're not going to have a successful relationship. Being
Mm-hmm.
married is so much more than, oh, we're together and tax benefits and we can have kids and all that stuff. Marriage is work. When
Mm-hmm.
you are pissed off at your partner, you still are here living with them. You have to figure out how to navigate through discomfort, navigate through disagreement, navigate through anger, emotions. And that's just what's dealing in your household. Then you have to think about their families on either side,
Ah,
you
damn.
know? And then you got to think about the friendships. So it's like literally like, a branch of different things that happens, and you have to be able to manage them. I'm married to my wife. My wife has her best friends. Her best friends have friends. When she goes out with her friends, am I cool with her friends?
Right.
I hang out with my
Yeah.
boys. My wife knows my boys are cool. But what about my boys, the ones that's always out here trying to bring strippers to the crib and stuff like that? So being able to navigate that, how do I respect and honor my wife? How do I submit to my partner? Because submission is
Mm-hmm.
a two-way street. Everybody's just like,
Yep.
oh, women got to submit to men, women got to submit to men. No, the man has to submit to his woman as well. And I was just
Yes.
talking to
Absolutely.
one of my friends the other night, like, a woman should submit to her man, but a man should definitely submit to his woman. If there's
Mm-hmm.
ever an issue where she feels like X, Y, and Z is going on and she doesn't like it, as the man of the house, you need to stop and be like, you know what? My wife ain't good with this. I'm done.
Facts.
So if you can't, like, of course, there's negotiation, there's, compromise, there's sacrifice. But if you're not willing to negotiate, compromise, and sacrifice, what's the point of being in a relationship? You just might as
Mm.
well be single, because you don't want to work with somebody else. And one of the best things about being able to be in a relationship and being able to rear children and raise the next generation is being able to be an example and set an example. Because everything that I dealt with as a kid, I wouldn't want my son to deal with it. When I was 4, I was
Mm-hmm.
staying at home by myself because my mom had to go to work. So I would walk
Mm.
2 blocks to school, come back. She taught me how to use the toaster. Ain't no damn well, ain't no way I'm having my son working stuff without me here. You know?
True.
So the dynamic of who I was as a kid is different than who these kids are now. So we as a generation, I hate to call myself millennial, but I'm within the age group. We as a
Yeah.
millennial generation need to be able to teach this next generation how to survive in a way that's better. That also includes the way that we treat our kids, the way that we
Mm-hmm.
discipline them. I used to get my ass whooped. I'm like, nah, I
Yeah.
can't put my hands on my son like that, because if I did, some of these kids they got child protective service number on speed dial. They know that number. Now my son, he would never do that, but I would never get myself to the point where it's just like, damn, my son is so scared of me that he needs to call somebody and tell them. Like, there's no reason for that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Damn, brother. Okay. I can sit here like we literally can talk all
Yeah.
day, man, but we want to be respectful of your time.
Oh yeah,
So
you're good.
before we get out of here, I have 8 questions, my brother. You're gonna give me a random number between one to
3.
eight. I'm gonna ask you a question. It's gonna be three.
That's my favorite number. Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna go with number three. So I want you to answer the question as honestly, as transparent as you can, and
Uh,
tie a message to it as well. Okay.
okay. Let's see.
So we're going with number three. Number three says, "What is a conspiracy theory you believe in?" And this is perfect for you.
Oh my goodness, conspiracy theory. There's so many. The funny thing about
Yes,
conspiracy theories is no longer conspiracy when it becomes true, right?
facts, and all of them got some truth to
And all of them got some truth to them. There are so many. Uh Conspiracy theories. Uh, I truly believe that the system was created perfectly that we live in
Hmm.
for it to operate in a way that the detriment of us as a people can be put on display to the world. But when
Mm,
our counterparts are displayed, they are shown in a different way. That's not happenstance. That's by design.
I agree. And by that, you mean black people, right?
Of course, yeah, 100%,
Hmm.
one hundred
Just so
percent.
ain't nobody confused.
No,
We
don't
talking
get that
about
confused.
us.
Don't get that confused. Yes, we as black people, we are in history. We have
Hmm.
always been great, but we've always been feared. And I think what's going on right now with Roe versus Wade, being overturned, and Congress having the ability to, make it into a law, or start the process of making it into a law, start a bill. But I think that's tied into so many things because for years, I want to say I got into college in 2006. I want to say
Okay.
as early as me being in college, I started seeing things about um, mixed race relationships causing the white population to dwindle.
Yes.
So I think there's a true fear factor that the white race is going to be obsolete truly in the 2040s or 2050s. And
Mm.
they're pushing for more people of lighter skin tone to
Yep.
have more babies regardless of the circumstance that it happens. But the problem is it's going to affect us because we are four times as likely, well, women, our black women are four times as likely to have a negative interaction in the hospital when giving birth, as far as, you know, oh, I'm in pain. Oh, you're fine. And then she dies. Like that type of stuff
Right.
happens all the fucking time, all the time. So, with childbirth, with, you know, the way that media says, oh, we need to have our women be entrepreneurs and women can do whatever they want and they don't need to worry about men and all of this stuff. The problem with that is when you tell women, oh, you could be independent, you could do this, you could do that, their focus now is on career.
Yep.
But the problem is, we were all meant to be together. We were not meant to be alone. So being in a
Right.
relationship is ideal. Once you're in a relationship and you're comfortable, even if you're single, man or woman, there's going to be a desire to bear a child.
Yep.
But men, we can have kids for till we die. But women,
Facts.
it becomes a lot more hazardous. So now we have women that are in their late 30s, 40s that have had the career that they wanted, but now they don't have children. How do I have children? Oh, well, we got to do a IVR. I mean, in vitro fertile IVF, in vitro
Hmm.
fertilization, or have somebody else hold the child because it's so hazardous for women. So
Mm.
when I see stuff like that, I'm like, oh, I'm starting to see the dots connecting. Something's going on, and I'm not like you. After a while, these conspiracy theories, it starts to make sense, and you start to connect the dots, and it's just like white population is starting to dwindle. There's so many mixed race relationships, whether it's white people and Asian, white people and Hispanic, white people, Latino, white people and black. If you're 1/16th black, you black. You are
Yeah.
black.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Pretty much.
when it comes down to stuff like that, it's just like, okay, there's a fear that there's going to be a dwindling population. So how do we get that back? Well, we got to bring the population back up. But in bringing the population back up, we're also going to put other people, other groups at a disadvantage because they don't have the same
Mm.
access that white people have in order
Yeah.
to get through these. Women with ectopic pregnancies and women like I saw a video, just to be real quick, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
I
Nah,
saw a
take your
video.
time, bro.
I saw a video of I think it was a doctor saying white people will definitely be able to still have abortions because what they will do is call it one thing.
Mm.
And if it's that one thing, it becomes a miscarriage. And if it's a miscarriage and the baby's still in the system, they have to remove it because if nothing happens, then the mother is at danger, right?
Damn.
So
Yeah.
if you can prove that X, Y, and Z happened, then boom, now you can go to a clinic and get it removed because now you have a dead fetus in your body. We don't have access to certain information, and a lot of times we don't want to go to the doctor and find out. We don't trust doctors, and we're not going to
Nope.
do the research ourselves. We go by
No.
word of mouth. Everything has to be quick. We're not going to sit down and do that, which is unfortunate.
Sure.
But when it comes down to it, it's just like there are ways around every rule. Every rule. Like there was a young girl in Ohio, I believe it was Ohio. A few days after it was overturned, we know that the wine changed up the law and made it you can't get it here. The
Yeah.
shorty
Yep.
was 10 years old, pregnant, raped, and she couldn't get the abortion because the law had just changed. So, as a 10-year-old child being pregnant by a rapist, she can't get an abortion. The doctors that
Oh
she
my.
went to was just like, my hands are tied because if I were to perform this procedure, I can lose my license. Now we're messing with the doctors. So she now
Yeah.
has to go to Indiana in order to
Damn.
get that done. So stuff like that is just like I see the dots connecting. There's something going on with that. 100%.
Damn.
Crazy.
Damn, bro.
Crazy.
Damn. Listen, man, you get it from me. You definitely better start your podcast again, man. Oh my gosh. Hey, tell the people where they can find you, brother.
uh you can find me at
Everything.
Dr. Thrill, Dr. underscore Thrill. I'm not a doctor. That's just a name that I've used for years. It's just DR underscore THRILL.
Mhm. That's
That's
on
it.
all
That's it.
platforms?
That's on. No, that's the main one. I'm only on Instagram for real. I don't really use Facebook like that.
For sure, for
But
sure.
my business, I'm a truck dispatcher. I started a truck dispatching business. About to start
Nice.
hitting the ground with that. So
Yeah.
Paragon Dispatch, Paragon Dispatch on IG, LinkedIn, and Facebook pages.
There you go, people. Y'all hear the man, the myth, the legend, Dr. Thrill. You hear me? Darnell Davis. Hey, brother, thank you so
Hey,
much for coming
anytime,
on.
anytime you need me to come on, I'm always down to talk conspiracy.
Hey, listen, I already know whoever here that's gonna be like, hey, y'all need to bring him back. I'm gonna be like, I agree. I agree. You
Hey,
hear
I'm
me?
with
All
it.
right, thank you so much.
I'm with it. Hey, anytime. I appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.